The galaxy was vast, filled with countless species that spanned across the stars. But Earth, a small, unremarkable planet in a distant corner of the galaxy, was not taken seriously. For centuries, the great galactic powers had ridiculed humanity. To them, Earth was nothing more than a tiny, weak world, full of primitive creatures who could barely defend themselves, let alone make a mark on the galaxy. Earth's technology was considered outdated, its resources insignificant. The Council of Galaxies, a group that held power over the stars, had long refused to allow humanity a seat among them, deeming Earth unworthy. For years, humans had endured the galaxy's mocking whispers. The aliens laughed at Earth's attempts to communicate with them, dismissing their messages as nothing more than the ramblings of a species far too primitive to understand the true workings of the universe. Earth's governments, once hopeful for an opportunity to join the galactic community, had been rejected time and time again. Every time they tried to make contact, the response was always the same: silence. Then came the laughter. They were laughed at for daring to dream of greatness, laughed at for thinking they could ever amount to something more than a backwater world. It was as if their existence was nothing but a joke in the eyes of the stars. On Earth, however, things were different. Humanity, though humble and often overlooked, was determined. They knew they had something more to offer the galaxy, something that the rest of the universe had yet to recognize. But they were patient. They would not bow to the ridicule. They would wait for the right moment, a moment when the galaxy would be forced to look at them, truly look at them, and understand that they had underestimated humanity. The moment came when the galaxy's great alien fleets began to move closer to Earth. At first, the humans had no idea what was happening. The first signs of trouble came as a series of strange ships appeared in Earth's orbit. The vessels were massive, sleek, and ominous, belonging to species humanity had never encountered before. Earth's governments immediately began to mobilize, sending out their ships to investigate. But they were unprepared, their fleets too small, their technology too weak to stand up to the sheer size and power of these alien forces. The humans tried to communicate, as they always had, hoping for some peaceful resolution, but their messages were ignored. The alien ships hovered above Earth, seemingly uninterested in anything other than a silent display of dominance. The Council of Galaxies had no intention of negotiating with Earth. They had come to remind humanity of their place in the universe, beneath the boot of the powerful, insignificant, and inconsequential. Then, without warning, the aliens attacked. The first strike was brutal, with laser beams cutting through Earth's atmosphere. Major cities were devastated. Thousands of lives were lost in an instant, and the human race seemed on the verge of collapse. The alien ships were too powerful, their technology far beyond anything Earth had ever seen. The attack was not just about conquering Earth. It was a statement, a final reminder that humans would never belong in the galaxy. The galaxy's scorn had become deadly. In the midst of the chaos, as humanity struggled to defend themselves, there was a flicker of hope. A signal, faint but unmistakable, was sent from Earth's last military stronghold, hidden deep beneath the surface of the planet. This was no ordinary message. It was a call to action. The humans had a weapon, one that had been kept secret for centuries. A weapon so powerful that it could turn the tide of the war in their favor. This weapon was not an army of soldiers, nor was it a fleet of ships. It was something much more dangerous. Deep in the heart of Earth, buried in a forgotten hangar, lay the Indomitable, a massive battleship, far beyond anything the aliens had ever seen. Its power had been concealed by Earth's governments, a secret kept hidden from the rest of the galaxy for fear that it would attract the wrong kind of attention. But now, in the face of extinction, humanity's greatest secret was about to be unleashed. The Indomitable had been designed in secrecy, built with technology that was centuries ahead of anything the galaxy had ever encountered. It was the culmination of humanity's finest minds, a machine that could bend the laws of physics itself. It had weapons capable of destroying entire fleets in a single blast, shields that could withstand the fiercest attacks, and systems designed for precision combat. The Indomitable was a weapon of unmatched power, and it was Earth's last hope. As the alien fleets continued their assault on the planet's surface, humanity's leaders gave the order. The Indomitable was activated. The first blast from its massive guns sent shockwaves through the atmosphere, knocking back the alien ships with terrifying force. The attack was so sudden and so powerful that it left the alien forces stunned. They had underestimated Earth. They had laughed at humanity for so long, but now the tables had turned. The Indomitable rose from its hiding place, cutting through the clouds like a predator. It was a sight that none of the alien ships had ever seen before, an unstoppable force, a symbol of humanity's will to survive. As the battleship advanced, its weapons fired once more, tearing through the alien ships with ease. The skies were filled with explosions, each one a reminder that Earth was no longer the weak and insignificant world it had once been. The galaxy's mocking laughter was silenced. For the first time in centuries, the aliens were the ones who were afraid. They had believed that they could crush humanity with ease, that Earth was nothing more than a stepping stone in their path. But they were wrong. The Indomitable was just the beginning. Humanity had more surprises in store. As the alien forces retreated, their fleets broken and scattered, the message was clear. Earth had finally shown the galaxy that they were a force to be reckoned with. The time for mocking humanity was over. The time for respecting Earth had begun. The galaxy would never laugh at Earth again. The alien forces had underestimated Earth for far too long, and now, with the Indomitable unleashed, they were paying the price. The first strike from the battleship had sent shockwaves through the galaxy, and its enemies were reeling, trying to regroup and understand the magnitude of the threat they were facing. Earth's response had been swift, and it left the galaxy's greatest powers wondering how they had miscalculated so badly. For the people of Earth, the sight of the Indomitable soaring through the sky, its weapons firing with deadly precision, was a moment of triumph. Humanity had spent centuries fighting for a place in the galaxy, only to be ignored and ridiculed. Now, they had the power to make their own fate. The Indomitable was not just a ship. It was a symbol of Earth's strength, a message to the rest of the universe that humanity would no longer be pushed aside. But as the Indomitable soared through the sky, humanity realized that their victory was only the beginning. The alien forces, although shaken, would not go down without a fight. They had underestimated humanity, yes, but now they were determined to crush this new threat before it could rise further. The galaxy's greatest fleets, once thought unbeatable, began to regroup, preparing for a counterattack that would test Earth's resolve. The Indomitable had only engaged a small portion of the alien fleet, but even so, it had dealt a crushing blow. Several alien warships were destroyed, and their commanders were left in disarray. The alien forces were not used to such resistance. For centuries, they had crushed countless worlds without breaking a sweat, and now they were facing something new, a species that refused to be conquered. Humanity's leaders, knowing that this was a turning point, rallied their forces and prepared for the battles ahead. Across Earth, people watched the skies, waiting to see what would happen next. Governments were in chaos, trying to organize the defense while citizens cheered on their newfound hope. The Indomitable was a symbol of human perseverance, but there were many questions still left unanswered. Where had this ship come from? How had Earth developed such technology without the galaxy knowing? And most importantly, was this new weapon enough to ensure Earth's survival against the galaxy's mightiest foes? The Indomitable was the key to their victory, but it was also their greatest risk. If humanity failed to defend itself, the battleship would be lost, and Earth's fragile peace would be shattered forever. The aliens would not simply let Earth's rise go unchallenged. As the Indomitable moved through the skies, it became clear that Earth was now a target, one that the galaxy's most powerful species could not afford to ignore. The alien response came quickly. A massive fleet, larger than anything Earth had ever seen, entered the system. It was a coalition of different species, each one more terrifying than the last. They were the galaxy's elite, the ones who had ruled with an iron fist for millennia. Their ships were monstrous, designed for one purpose: to dominate. They had come to Earth to show humanity just how outmatched they were. But as their fleets approached, they saw something that made them hesitate. The Indomitable was not alone. Hidden beneath the surface of Earth, humanity had more weapons waiting, more ships ready to rise from their long-forgotten hangars. The Indomitable was just the first of many, a precursor to the real force that humanity could bring to bear. The galaxy had laughed at Earth, but now it was beginning to understand that the people of this small planet were not the helpless creatures they had thought. Humans were fighters, and they were ready to prove it. The massive alien fleet arrived, its warships forming an impenetrable wall across the system. Their weapons were powerful, capable of reducing planets to ash. But they had made a fatal mistake. They had underestimated Earth's determination. The Indomitable had been the first warning, but the full scale of humanity's response was yet to come. As the alien fleets readied their attack, they were stunned by what they saw next. Earth's hidden fleets, vessels built in secret for generations, began to rise from the planet's surface, emerging from hidden bases that stretched across the planet's continents. There were hundreds of them, each one an advanced warship designed to take on the greatest threats the galaxy had ever known. The aliens had thought Earth weak, but now they were facing a planet with hidden strength, technology, and ingenuity beyond anything they could have predicted. The battle was about to begin. The alien fleets moved into position, preparing to launch their assault on Earth. Their warships bristled with weapons, ready to rain destruction down upon the planet below. They had come to crush Earth, to remind humanity of its place in the galaxy. But they had no idea what they were up against. The Indomitable led the charge, its weapons firing once more, tearing through the alien ships with surgical precision. Each shot from its massive cannons sent shockwaves through the enemy fleet, leaving trails of burning wreckage in its wake. The alien ships retaliated, but their attacks were ineffective against the Indomitable's advanced shields. It was as if Earth had suddenly become a force that could not be stopped. Behind the Indomitable, Earth's other warships joined the fray, launching their own attacks against the alien invaders. The sky above Earth became a battlefield, filled with explosions, lasers, and debris. Humanity's fleet was smaller than the aliens, but it was fierce, determined, and resourceful. Every ship, every crew member, fought with everything they had, knowing that this battle would decide their future. The alien forces, once so confident in their superiority, were now beginning to feel the weight of humanity's response. The Indomitable and its allies were not just defending Earth. They were making a statement. They were showing the galaxy that humanity would no longer bow to anyone. The time of ridicule was over. The time for war had begun. As the battle raged on, the alien commanders realized that their initial plan had failed. They had thought that they could simply crush humanity, but now they were fighting for their lives. The Indomitable was more than just a ship. It was a symbol of everything humanity stood for: survival, resilience, and defiance. The aliens were about to learn a hard truth. Earth was not a world to be laughed at anymore. The battle for the galaxy was just beginning, and humanity was determined to win. The battle raged on, and the galaxy watched as Earth fought back with a ferocity that none of the alien fleets had ever imagined. The Indomitable led the charge, its weapons cutting through the alien forces like a hot knife through butter. Every shot it fired seemed to hit its mark, tearing apart ships that had once been invincible. The alien fleets, once sure of their dominance, were now scrambling, trying to adjust to the overwhelming force that Earth had unleashed. From the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Eva Parker stood, her eyes fixed on the holographic display in front of her. The once clear skies were now filled with chaos. Explosions, lasers, and debris filled every corner of the battlefield. The alien ships, large and intimidating, were being reduced to flaming wrecks, their once pristine hulls torn apart by humanity's newfound strength. Yet, even as their forces dwindled, the aliens did not retreat. They had underestimated humanity, but now they were determined to destroy Earth. "Captain, we've got another wave incoming," Lieutenant Ramirez said, his voice tense. "It's bigger than the last one." Eva didn't flinch. She had known this was coming. The aliens would not stop until they had eradicated every last human on Earth. They had too much pride to admit defeat, too much anger to let go of their hatred for this insignificant species that had dared to rise up against them. "Hold steady, Lieutenant," Eva replied. "We've got this." But even as she spoke, she knew it wouldn't be easy. The new wave of alien ships was massive, far larger than any force humanity had ever faced. They were coming from all directions, trying to overwhelm Earth's defenses with sheer numbers. It would take every ounce of strength, every resource Earth had, to hold them off. The Indomitable's weapons hummed with energy as the crew prepared for the next strike. Eva knew that they couldn't afford to lose momentum. One mistake, one slip-up, and the battle could turn against them. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, rested on the shoulders of those aboard the Indomitable and the other ships that had risen from Earth's depths. As the alien ships approached, the human fleet, though smaller, was ready. The commanders of Earth's hidden ships had all been briefed on the importance of this moment. They knew that this battle was not just about survival. It was about sending a message to the galaxy. A message that Earth would no longer be a punching bag, no longer be the underdog. They were a force to be reckoned with. "Target their weak points," Captain Parker ordered. "We know their ships better than they know themselves. Let's show them that they aren't invincible." The Indomitable fired again, sending a massive energy pulse that slammed into the leading alien ship. The blast was so powerful that it tore the ship in half, sending debris scattering in all directions. The shockwaves from the explosion sent ripples through the surrounding fleet, forcing the enemy to adjust their formation. But the aliens were not going to give up that easily. As one, the remaining ships began to focus their fire on the Indomitable, hoping to take down the symbol of Earth's resistance. But the battleship's shields held strong, absorbing the energy from each blast and redirecting it to power its own weapons. With each attack, the Indomitable seemed to grow stronger, its weapons more powerful, as if fueled by the very energy of the battle. On the ground, Earth's cities had been turned into war zones, but humanity was not backing down. Despite the chaos above, the people of Earth were rallying. Militias formed, volunteer groups organized, and the human spirit burned brighter than ever. Earth had been pushed to the brink of destruction, but instead of cowering, humanity was fighting back with everything they had. In the heart of one of Earth's largest cities, a group of civilians had gathered in an underground bunker, watching the battle unfold on large screens. They knew that their fate, and the fate of their loved ones, depended on the outcome of this fight. As the explosions lit up the sky above, they couldn't help but cheer. For the first time in their lives, they felt that humanity had a chance. "Look at that," one of the civilians shouted as the Indomitable took down another alien warship. "They're fighting back. We're not done yet." The cheering spread throughout the bunker as hope surged in the hearts of Earth's people. They had been underestimated, ridiculed, and ignored. But now they had something that the galaxy couldn't take away: determination. The galaxy may have laughed at them, but they would no longer laugh at Earth. Humanity was proving its worth, and it was only a matter of time before the rest of the universe would see them as a force to be reckoned with. Back in space, the battle continued to rage. The aliens, still determined to crush Earth, were beginning to realize that they had made a grave mistake. They had expected a quick victory, an easy conquest of a weak world. But now, they were facing a species that refused to give up, a species that was willing to fight to the death for their home. The Indomitable continued its assault, its weapons unleashing torrents of energy that tore through the alien ships like paper. The human fleet fought fiercely, using every tactic and strategy they had learned from centuries of survival on their tiny, insignificant planet. The aliens were disorganized, their once imposing formation falling apart under the pressure of humanity's counterattack. But just when it seemed like the alien forces might finally break, a new, even larger wave of ships appeared. It was the reinforcements the aliens had promised, and they had arrived with more firepower than ever before. The galaxy's greatest warriors had come to finish what they started. "Get ready," Captain Parker said, her voice calm but determined. "We're not done yet." The Indomitable and the rest of Earth's fleet prepared for the next wave, knowing that the outcome of this battle would determine their future. The alien reinforcements were powerful, but they were not invincible. Earth had already shown that. And now, humanity was prepared to finish the fight. As the battle continued, the entire galaxy watched in awe. What had started as a simple fight for survival had become a battle for the ages. Humanity had proven that they were not to be underestimated. The galaxy would no longer laugh at Earth. Humanity had made its mark on the stars, and nothing would ever be the same again. The fourth part of the battle had begun, and the stakes had never been higher. The alien reinforcements had arrived, their warships massive and imposing, bristling with weapons designed to annihilate anything in their path. They were the elite of the galaxy, warriors who had never known defeat, and they were here to finish what they had started. But the humans aboard the Indomitable and their fellow ships were not intimidated. They had already proven that they were not like the other species the galaxy had conquered. They were human, and they would fight until their last breath. Captain Eva Parker stood at the command center of the Indomitable, her hands gripping the railing as the new wave of alien ships loomed on the horizon. The alien forces were closing in, their ships forming a near-impenetrable wall of destruction. But Eva didn't flinch. She knew that Earth's forces could hold their own. The Indomitable had already struck fear into the galaxy, and now it was time to finish what they had started. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, rested on this final battle. "Prepare for engagement," Eva ordered, her voice steady and filled with authority. "We'll hold them off for as long as we can. Earth depends on us." The Indomitable fired once again, its weapons glowing with intensity as they cut through the approaching alien fleet. The massive warships exploded in bursts of light, their shields buckling under the sheer force of the human weapons. But the aliens didn't retreat. Instead, they pressed forward, launching salvo after salvo of their own energy blasts, attempting to overwhelm the human defenses. The Indomitable's shields absorbed the blows, and with each hit, the ship seemed to grow stronger. The weapons on board hummed with new energy, and the crew worked in perfect sync to fire back with even more power. But the alien ships were relentless. They had learned from their earlier mistakes, and now they were adapting to the human tactics. The alien fleet advanced, its ships organized and disciplined. The battle was no longer a mere skirmish. It had become a war, a clash of civilizations, each determined to prove their dominance. But humanity was not backing down. Each ship in Earth's fleet was fighting with everything it had, knowing that this was their one chance to prove themselves. The battle was no longer about survival. It was about sending a message to the galaxy. Earth would no longer be the underdog. On Earth's surface, the situation was tense. The people knew that the outcome of this fight would determine their future. If humanity lost, the alien invaders would undoubtedly destroy everything they had worked so hard to build. But if they won, they would send a message to the stars, one that would echo through the galaxy for generations. Earth had risen from obscurity, and now it was ready to stake its claim in the stars. In the war rooms of Earth's command centers, military strategists worked tirelessly to ensure that every possible advantage was used. Communications were sent to the Indomitable and the other ships, coordinating attacks and maneuvers. The leaders of Earth knew that this was their finest hour, and they would not squander it. Every human on Earth was fighting for survival, and that strength, combined with the advanced technology of the Indomitable, was beginning to show. But even as the human forces fought back with all their might, The alien reinforcements proved to be formidable. Their warships were heavily armored, their weapons capable of devastating entire fleets with a single shot. The human fleet, though strong, was beginning to feel the pressure. One by one, Earth's ships were taking damage, their shields flickering and their weapons firing less frequently as the alien attacks wore them down. Back on the Indomitable, the crew was working overtime. Lieutenant Ramirez called out from the weapons station, his voice strained. "We're running low on energy, Captain. The shields can't hold out much longer if we keep taking these hits." Eva clenched her fists, her mind racing. They needed more time. They needed something to turn the tide of the battle. Is there any way to draw their fire? We need to buy ourselves a little more time. Ramirez looked at the controls, his brow furrowing. We could overload the main cannon, give it one massive shot, but it'll drain everything we've got. If we don't make it count, we'll be sitting ducks. Eva nodded. It was a risky move, but it was the only one they had left. Do it. Make it count. The crew worked quickly, rerouting all available power to the Indomitable's main cannon. The ship shuddered as the energy surged through the systems, its massive weapon glowing brighter than ever before. The alien ships, seeing the power building up in the human battleship, knew that something big was coming, but they couldn't avoid it. The Indomitable was preparing to unleash everything it had. Firing in 3, 2, 1. Ramirez's voice cracked with tension. Fire. The Indomitable's main cannon fired, sending a blast of pure energy that ripped through the space between the ships. The shockwave of the blast hit the first alien warship with terrifying force, tearing it apart in an instant. The explosion was so powerful that it sent ripples through the enemy fleet, scattering their formation and causing chaos among their ranks. For a moment, the battle paused. The alien ships, stunned by the unexpected blast, struggled to regroup. It was exactly what Earth needed. The Indomitable had bought humanity a brief moment of respite. The human fleet, though battered, was now regrouping and preparing for another push. The aliens had been thrown off balance, and for the first time in this battle, they were unsure of how to proceed. But this moment of advantage was fleeting. The alien commanders quickly regained their composure, rallying their forces and pushing forward with renewed determination. They had been humiliated by Earth's unexpected power, and they would not allow it to happen again. The galaxy had laughed at Earth before, but now they had learned that humanity was a force to be reckoned with. The next wave of alien ships closed in, their weapons aimed at the Indomitable and the other human ships. It was a final, all-out assault. The stakes were higher than ever, and the outcome of the battle would determine the future of humanity. As the alien fleet bore down on Earth's forces, Captain Eva Parker stood tall, her eyes scanning the battlefield. She knew the odds were slim, but she also knew that humanity had something the aliens didn't: heart. They were fighting for their home, for their people, for their future. And that, she believed, was something no alien fleet could ever understand. The final battle had begun. The fate of Earth and the galaxy rested on this moment. The final battle had arrived, and there was no turning back. Both sides were on the brink of exhaustion, with ships battered, weapons strained, and morale hanging by a thread. The galaxy had underestimated Earth, mocked its efforts, and laughed at its perceived weakness. But now, the universe was witnessing something it had never expected: humanity's determination, resilience, and relentless drive to survive. Captain Eva Parker stood at the helm of the Indomitable, her gaze fixed on the holographic battlefield in front of her. The alien reinforcements had arrived in full force, their warships surrounding the human fleet from every direction. Their weapons were powerful, their shields nearly impenetrable. But the Indomitable and the other ships of Earth's fleet were not giving up. They had fought through impossible odds, and they were determined to see this through to the end. "Captain, we've got no more reinforcements," Lieutenant Ramirez said, his voice tight with stress. "This is it. We either win or we lose." Eva's fingers tightened on the railing, but she didn't flinch. She had seen her crew fight bravely, and she knew they would continue to do so until the very end. "Then we fight," she said, her voice firm. "We fight for Earth, for our people, for everything we've built. Let's make it count." The Indomitable fired once more, its main cannon sending a massive blast of energy that tore through the alien ranks. The shockwaves sent alien ships spiraling out of control, some disintegrating completely under the force of the human weapon. But even as they struck back with devastating force, the alien fleet did not retreat. They continued to press forward, knowing that they had to crush the human resistance once and for all. The battle was now an all-out frenzy. The ships exchanged fire, and the sky was filled with flashes of light as the alien and human forces clashed in a final desperate struggle for supremacy. On the Indomitable, the crew fought with everything they had, each person doing their part to keep the ship running, firing, and evading the relentless alien attacks. "We've lost contact with several of our ships," Ramirez reported, his face pale. "The alien forces are pushing us back, Captain." Eva's mind raced as she considered their options. They had only one chance left, one final move to turn the tide. Earth's fleet had taken heavy losses, but if they could hit the aliens' command ship, the heart of their fleet, everything could change. If they could take out the command center, the rest of the alien ships would fall into disarray. But it was a risky move. The command ship was heavily guarded, surrounded by the toughest warships in the fleet. "We need a distraction," Eva said, her mind working quickly. "Can we disable their outer fleet long enough for a small strike force to get through?" Lieutenant Ramirez hesitated for a moment, his eyes scanning the data on his screen. "It's possible, but we'll need a small, fast team to make it through. It'll be dangerous." Eva didn't hesitate. "We have no choice. Get a team together. Now." The crew worked quickly, and soon a small, specialized strike team was ready. Their mission was clear: get past the alien fleet, infiltrate their command ship, and take it down. They knew the odds were slim, but they were willing to give everything to make sure humanity didn't lose this fight. The Indomitable's cannons fired once again, creating a breach in the alien formation. The alien ships retaliated with overwhelming force, but the distraction was enough. The strike team, aboard their small, fast vessels, slipped through the gap, heading toward the alien command ship. As the strike team approached their target, the command ship's defenses powered up, and the alien fleet tried to regroup. But the human team, focused and determined, dodged incoming fire, weaving through the enemy ships with skill and precision. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but their will to survive and to protect Earth was stronger than any alien weapon. "We're almost there," the strike team leader shouted over the comms. "Prepare for insertion." With precision and speed, the team made their way into the command ship's hangar. The massive doors slid open, and they landed with a thud, immediately disembarking and running toward their target, the command center, where the aliens were coordinating their forces. Their mission was simple: destroy the command center, and the rest of the fleet would fall apart. The team moved through the dark corridors of the alien ship, their weapons raised and ready. Every step was fraught with danger. The alien forces inside were formidable, but the team pushed forward, determined to reach their target. They fought their way through waves of alien soldiers, their weapons flashing as they cut down their enemies one by one. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the team reached the command center. The doors slid open with a hiss, and the leader of the strike team rushed inside, planting explosives at key points. The countdown began. "This is it," the leader said, his voice steady but filled with anticipation. "Let's finish this." With a final nod, the team evacuated, running back to their ships as the timer ticked down. The explosive charges would destroy the command center, crippling the alien fleet. The strike team made it back to their ships just in time, and they made a hasty retreat, knowing that the explosion would soon follow. Back on the Indomitable, Captain Eva Parker and her crew watched as the countdown reached 0. The explosion was deafening, sending shockwaves through the alien fleet. The massive alien command ship erupted in a brilliant flash of light, disintegrating in an instant. The surrounding alien ships were thrown into disarray, their commanders unsure of what to do next. The battle was over. The alien fleet had lost its heart, its mind, and with it, the will to fight. Earth's forces, battered but unbroken, pressed forward, taking advantage of the chaos. The remaining alien ships scattered, their retreat inevitable. The humans had won. On Earth, the news spread like wildfire. Humanity had fought against impossible odds, and they had emerged victorious. The galaxy, once mocking and dismissive, was now forced to recognize Earth as a powerful force in the universe. No longer would Earth be seen as weak or insignificant. No longer would humanity be laughed at. Captain Eva Parker stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, her eyes scanning the stars. The battle had been won, but there was still work to be done. Humanity had proven itself to the galaxy, and now it was time to rebuild. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: Earth had changed the galaxy forever. The final battle was over, but the story of humanity's rise had only just begun.